and we are back with John Rodriguez, who's a pastor, and as you know, you can't have a wedding without someone to officiate it, so welcome, John.
Good to be here with you.
So happy to have you. So tell us a little bit about your services as a pastor.
Well, I've been a pastor with Victory Outreach for many years now.
Yeah.
And for about 30 years. And one of the unique things about our ministry is we're not your typical church. We're a little bit different than most churches in that we do a lot of outreach. We reach out to a lot of the people in the community, people that are not normally your normal church folk. We tend to reach out to them, people that are in the streets, whether they be on drugs or involved in gangs, or whether they be homeless or their lives have chemically dependent. We tend to reach out to those type of people. So it really makes us a little bit unique in what we do. I don't know that a lot of churches do that.
Nor I. I've been to many, but I like that about your church because it's good to not just talk about things you should do, you actually go out and do them.
Yes.
And that's one thing I appreciate about the services that your church provides.
Thank you. Well, one of the things that's important to understand is that, with the epidemic of drug addiction and homeless and people that are on chemical dependency, whatever it may be, alcohol or cocaine or meth, with the epidemic, it's all over the world, as well as in our valley. Throughout the valley, in every city I've been in, people are so addicted to these types of drugs. And in every walk of life, it's not just the lower class, it's the middle class, it's the upper class. I run into business people all the time who tell me, how do I get my kid off of these things? How do I change my kids? They're on a bad path. They've taken a wrong turn. They're addicted to drugs. How do I get them off? And thank God that God has given us a ministry that, not just because of who we are, but we used to be them type of people. You're looking at somebody who was involved in drugs, who was involved in gangs, who used to run the streets. But I thought that's the way life was. I thought that was the way it was supposed to be for me until I encountered Christ, until I encountered a different way. Somebody told me that I didn't have to live like that. Somebody told me that God could change my life, that He could give me a better life. And until I received that message of the gospel into my life, then it made the difference. And as a result of God saving me and really coming into my life, now I reach out to those type of people. So for us, it kind of is a thing where they can't say to us, you don't know what it's like. You haven't been here. We have been there. We know what it's like. But we also know if God can do it for us, He can do it for you. So this is the message that our church really brings. It's not just a message of hope through the gospel of Christ, but also a message that relates. People want to know in the streets, how do you know it can work for me? When they see somebody that has never been involved in that, they're kind of like, well, you don't know what it's like, but we do. So that's what kind of makes our ministry a little bit unique.
Oh yeah, and I think that's so important for that very reason you say, where people that are usually in that position tend to think no one can help me because no one knows. This is just my experience. But even if there are people trying to help, they tend to assume that there's an ulterior motive, or simply that someone just doesn't understand, but you all do. And I think that's really great that you're using this platform to help people that tend to be unreachable by probably any other type of person.
Right. And the great thing about our ministry is not only that we're local, we're worldwide. So anywhere you go in the United States and across the seas, the ministry of Victory Outreach does the same thing all over the world and reaches out to the same type of people. Because as you know and I know, the epidemic of drug addiction is worldwide. It's not just in the Valley, it's not just in the United States or in California, it's worldwide. We have churches in cities like Cape Town, South Africa, where there's such an epidemic of drugs, but we're seeing many lives change. I mean, hundreds of lives being changed. We're in Mexico, we're in Europe, we're in Amsterdam, Holland, all over the world, And you would never think in these type of countries that the epidemic would be so bad with drug addiction. But first-hand experience, it's all over the world. And thank God that our ministry has the opportunity to reach into those parts of the world
Oh, absolutely.
So, in that uniqueness, that's why I say we're unique, because of the type of people we reach. Not so much that we are a church, but the type of church that we are.
Oh, yeah.
And we also have churches here in Fresno. As a matter of fact, we have 3 churches here in Fresno that are always reaching out to people in the streets, in the jails, wherever there's a need at, that's where we're at.
That's awesome. And aside from like all of the special stuff you do that's, unique from other churches, do you still have time to do like the more typical things such as weddings?
Yes, we actually do. Well, a lot of the people that come into our church, we have the privilege of also having rehabilitation homes. We have men's and women's rehabilitation homes.
Oh, okay.
And sometimes you get people that come into these homes and they come in single, and by some, they end up finding each other there as well, finding God, but then also finding each other. And as a result of that, we do, a lot of weddings.
That's kind of awesome. Like, you had to go through this struggle to find like your light, but also your other half. I like that a lot, actually. That's kind of sweet in a way. Yeah. Like, how often do you usually see that, if you can even put a number on it?
You'd be surprised how many people go into our homes and actually not only encounter Christ, but meet each other there. I would say roughly, maybe a third of them that come into these homes.
Wow.
Because a lot of them are single. They're in the streets. They didn't know it. They lost their family or lost their respect or lost their sanity. But when they come in, they begin to understand that not only does God have a plan for them, but part of that plan is giving them somebody in their life that will help them.
That's awesome. So I really love that.
It really kind of, I think, provides a good strength for that marriage, where you get 2 people who understand where they came from and also where they're heading.
Yes, and they get to go somewhere together, like metaphorically.
Yes.
So how can people contact you or simply Victory Outreach if they're interested in learning more about it, or if they know someone who could maybe benefit from the services you provide? How can they contact you?
They can contact us online, at visalia@aol.com. They can call, or just in any city, just look for Victory Outreach, and any church will come up of Victory Outreach. Wherever we're at, whatever city we're in, our name is usually on there.
That's awesome.
So, like I said, we're all over the valley.
And that's good to know, because I've learned about this from talking to you in other shows previously, and I didn't know that beforehand, but since you've told me, I've noticed it. Throughout the town, I'm like, that's so good. I like that that's here, because I'm not in a position to, I've never been on drugs, but I'm glad to see that there are things like that, because if I don't see it, like a lot of people, you just don't assume it's not there.
Right.
Type of a thing. But now that I know, and now that I can see it, it's it makes me happy to see that it's there for people that need it.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Once you became aware of who we are, now you're beginning to recognize that we are out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's always
so
a pleasure to be here with you.
Likewise. Stay right here on the Central Valley Wedding Show. We'll be right back after these messages.